I guess there's no scraped knees with having a balanced bike already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tamieja says this is her favorite energy boosting song. Actually, yes. Sounds like these unique songs like this. Sure.
I know. I'm getting pumped for this. Connell, are you excited for today?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. I can't wait. I'm so glad that we got so many people showing up right now. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, there was a 100-seat limit, and I think we are almost there. Holy moly. But this is, I have to admit, this is like the best part of my weekends, where we get to do this work. We get to serve these people. Very thrilled about that. I don't know about you, but I'm like bopping up and down to the song.
Well, I had to cut it because we're almost at the top of the hour. Maybe we'll give people a couple more seconds.
Yes, we'll give people a few more minutes because I know people are rolling in from all over the world. So, excellent.
All right, I think it's time to show everyone my embarrassing haircut.
It's called a COVID haircut. I believe it's okay. Well, I attempted to do mine on my own, so it's give me a second. Let me get this ready. COVID, man, it's taught us how to live differently for sure. So. Excellent.
All right.
There we go.
Hey,
yeah. Hey, Connell. Am I coming through okay? My audio's good?
It sounds so from our side. Everyone, yeah, if you can put in the chat, if you got any technical issues, just put in the chat and we'll take a look at it.
Yes, we want to make sure that we're coming through nice and clear. We've got the right volume for you. So yes. Ooh, love your haircut. Just great. My haircut or Connell's haircut? Yes, I had to just trim it down. It was starting to get a little bit crazy. I think I got to a point where it was the longest it's been in over 15 years. So it's, yes, it was interesting for sure.
Cool.
Okay. So we'll kick it off. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And we've seen that people are coming in from all over the place, and we're honored to have you here with us. We're going to make sure that both Colin and I have put together some incredible content that we're going to be sharing with you today to really give you and maximize some of the value from today. And that's our goal. And that's always been our goal, is to make sure that you have some really, really great information that you can use and implement right away. Well, we've got people from Nigeria, Lagos. Thank you. And thank you for all the comments. The audio is coming through nice and clear, so that's fantastic. There's no video. Oh, that's interesting. That's okay. You can still listen along if you can't see us. I know sometimes, depending on where you are in the world and what's happening with your internet connection, video doesn't necessarily come through. But as long as you can see our screen, that is the most important part, because there's going to be some good content that we're going to be sharing with you. All right, Connell. So when it comes to today, there's a couple of ground rules that I want you to, or I'm going to invite you to think about as we go through the day. First of all, I'm going to invite you to keep an open mind. One of the things that Connell and I do is we might be slightly different from some of the other webinars that you've attended. We do have a slightly different way of looking at how the job search process is, only because we're bringing in experience and research that's really here to help you. So all I'm going to invite you to do is just keep an open mind. If you don't necessarily agree with some of the content that we're sharing with you, that's okay. But the only thing is just keep an open mind to it and see what happens. What we're also going to invite you to do is give yourself some permission to play today. And what I mean by that is really around doing some things that you normally wouldn't do. And you'll see what I mean in just a minute or two. Because really being playful and learning, they go together really well. And some of the research that I've done in some of the work that I've put together, we know that when you play and you have fun and you're going through a process that you enjoy, the learning is actually better. And what ends up happening is the retention of the things that you're going to learn are going to start to stick. And that's incredibly important. And that's what we want to make sure that we give to you today, is to make sure that you walk away with some incredible value and some sticky content that you're going to be able to use and implement to get the job that you want. And then the last and final one is really just have some fun, and let's unplug for the next hour. There is, you've taken the time to commit to attending this webinar and to be here with us. Let's make sure that whatever you can, and hey, listen, I understand, you have family, you have kids, you got a whole bunch of different things going on. If you can't unplug and put your phone away, what we're going to at least advise you to do, just like in the movie theaters, is we're going to have you turn off the volume or at least mute it so you can really stay focused in on this content, because this is some content that we know that has worked really well for some of our other students and other clients. We want to make sure that we're here to assist you the best way we can. Excellent. So what we're going to do, and like I said, I've invited you to play. I'm going to invite you to be open. What I'm going to invite you to do at this moment is just to stand up. If you are sitting down, if you're standing up already, fantastic. One of the things that I know is incredibly important is if you raise your energy, it's really going to make a difference in terms of how the content starts to stick. Remember, I said we're going to make this content sticky. So I'm going to invite you to stand up, because I'm going to prepare you to learn, because learning comes from when you're in an energetic state, and having a straight back and a strong chest is going to make a world of difference in terms of how this is going to work for you. Okay, excellent. So now that you're standing, and I'm going to go with the assumption that everybody's standing, I'm just going to invite you to just put your hands on your hips, and we're just going to hold this for a second. And what we're going to do with this, like I said, we are a little bit different, but we do get results, and that's what it's all about. We're going to invite you to put your hands on your hip. You're going to stand, and you're just going to look up, and you're going to breathe in. And with every breath in, you're going to find that place inside of you that's excited, that little feeling inside of you that gets, excited and thrilled to learn new things. And this is what you're here to do today. We're here to teach you some new things, and we want you to adapt and pick up as much as you can before you leave. And as you find this feeling inside of you, what I'm going to invite you to do at this moment is just to breathe into that feeling. And when you breathe into that feeling, it's going to start to grow and expand inside of you. As you breathe in some more, it starts to expand, and now it starts to fill in all the little parts of your body, into your legs, into your arms, into your fingers, into your toes, into your head, and it just starts to fill up all that space. And you can feel it. It's almost like turning a dial up on a radio, and you start to turn this excitement up, this energy up, to bring you up to a place where you are incredibly energetic, incredibly eager to learn new things, and ready to adopt new ways of doing things so you can succeed in your job search. I'm going to invite you to take one more breath. Stand up tall, nice straight back, chest up. Excellent. And just realize in the days, months, and weeks to come, anytime you need this sort of energy, all you got to do is stand up, do the superhero pose, and take that deep breath, because that's going to make a world of difference for you. Excellent. Okay, good. Connell, I think we are ready to start. I don't know about you, but I'm already jazzed up and energized. So let's go.
Every time you say that, I remember what it was like before doing my job interviews in Canada. I used to go to the bathroom and do exactly that. And it really helped for sure.
It does for sure.
Okay, so
I'll turn it over to you, Connell.
All right, guys, let's dive in. So why are you here? So if you've been following the emails I'd sent earlier, I would assume that you are here because you're frustrated and consumed. You're not getting responses from your online job applications. You've heard customizing your resume is important, but it takes too long because for every job application, and more importantly, you want the job that's right for you in Canada. Some of you may be newcomers to Canada, still in your home countries, obviously. Some of you are here already. Some of you might be just fresh graduates looking for a change, but the most important thing is you want the job that's right for you, and you're completely frustrated and confused about the document that you got to create, your resume, to get that. And, type it in the chat. Did I cover all the reasons? I would love to know why you guys came to this webinar. open up. We want to try and get this to be, as fun for you guys as possible, and we want participation as well. So type it in the chat. Why you guys here? And we'd both love to see the responses that we want to get. You're hungry for information. All right, from Karan Preet. All right, excellent. Yeah, no responses since graduation from Rajat. And Dania is relaunching their career. Wow, that's a very bold move. You want to get more interviews. All right, excellent. Trying to, wow, this is flashing too fast on my screen. But yes, securing a job in Canada. I'm trying to catch them all. But yep, good. I think you guys are definitely in the right place for sure. All right, and there's going to be a Q&A section at the end, don't worry. So we're going to get to all the questions that you have. And if you have them during the webinar, please type them in the chat, or more, it's more ideal to have it in the Q&A section that you have over there as well. So type away during the webinar. We'll try and get as many of them as possible at the end. So as I'd mentioned in my emails, there's a special bonus just for you guys because you are here. You took time out of your busy day to attend this webinar, and we had 100 seat limited because we wanted to give a special bonus for you guys. You showed up, all right? And it definitely shows the initiative that you want to take to listen to the content out here. And so we're going to do something special for you guys at the end. So stick around for that. So here's what we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering your resume's one objective. That's the foundation that you need to learn the rest of the stuff. And because from that objective, you're going to realize the common resume mistakes that I've seen a lot of my students making, and you could be making some of these as well. And then we're going to go into the real meat of this discussion, the master content and keywords that you need to create that one master resume. And then we're going to go into that special offer we talked about and the Q&A session right at the end. So stick around and stay tuned. So who's the guy who's talking to you? So some of you may have followed me for a while, and some of you maybe are brand new and this is your first webinar. I'm Connell Valentine. I'm a newcomer to Canada, and I came in 2015. And before I came over here, luckily I'm a very paranoid kind of person, right? Just naturally I'm that way. That's me and my beautiful wife at the Chinguacousy Park just across my house on Canada Day. It was a lovely day. And those are my two kids. They're the reasons that I made this big move out here. And like I said, I was really paranoid about the move, as some of you may be. What was the job market like, Canadian work culture, and those kind of things. So I did the work. I did the research for an entire year before moving out here. And it helped because then I met this guy, Mr. John Ribeiro. He was actually my first manager in Canada. And with all that research that I put together, I had a solid plan with a killer resume, LinkedIn profile, and networking strategy. And I came out here and I got 3 job offers in 3 weeks. So that's me at my job. Just like you, I have a day job, and I got a job at a fantastic organization, and I'm loving my career right now. And I'm currently living the goals that you are trying to achieve for yourself, right? And during that time, it's been 5 years now, and me and John, both of us together, have been hiring people during that time. And what I discovered was that, with my newfound knowledge of how to do resumes, interviews, I realized that there's so many newcomers to Canada, and even other Canadians as well who are just graduated, that don't know how to do this right. No one's taught anybody how to job search. And that's why at night, this is what I do. Me and John partner with the Canadian Job Search Academy, and we all go out there educating people on how to job search the right way. This is me at the Canadian Immigrant Fair, and you can see the amount of people that show up for this, because there's this many people struggling to find the careers that's right for them in Canada, right? And you got to understand, for me, it's not just important to get, any old job. You got to get the job that fits your interest, qualifications, and experience. That's what we're all about. And as you can see, here's the proof, right? We've taught so many students, and they've seen such great results. And this is the kind of results I want for you guys as well. That's why I'm assuming that you are here. You're here because you want to achieve the same kind of results as these guys have, okay? So now we're going to get into the real thick of the webinar right here. This is the job search journey that we promote at the Canadian Job Search Academy. And you can see there's a lot of steps in here. We obviously can't go through the whole thing, but we're going to be covering the top 2 areas and just the basics of it. But you're really going to be coming away with a lot of value from here. I wanted to show you that just because this webinar is free doesn't mean you're just going to get some content that isn't relevant. All of the stuff we're going to cover today is taken right out of our courses. So you're really going to get a lot of value today. So before we begin, let's test your resume knowledge. Okay, let me kick off a poll right here. And I want you to answer the question, what is the one objective for your resume? And you should have a poll coming up on your screen. So please answer away. We're going to keep it up for a couple of seconds. And I can see some answers coming in. And a lot of people are, all right, we're getting some great responses here. And yep, we're going to keep it on for a couple of more seconds. Thanks for all the responses that are coming in. All right, 30 seconds. Thanks a lot. So it seems to be a tie between to get a call from the recruiter, almost a tie, and all of the above. The answer is actually to get a call from the recruiter. So I put all of the above in there just to trick you guys. So it's a trick question, but the one objective is to get a call from the recruiter. So I'm going to stop sharing right now. And this is really important to understand, right? This is the most important thing to understand. It's the foundation of how you create your resume. All you got to, the purpose of your resume is to get the call from the recruiter for the interview or the hiring manager, whoever is seeing it first. And once you understand this, that this is the main objective, you'll see why a lot of people make these common mistakes. They type out resumes that are too long, well beyond 2 pages. You know, the recruiter doesn't need to see more than 2 pages of information. They sometimes don't even need to see more than 1 page of information to decide where to give you that call. And there's also irrelevant information in there. People just brain dump everything that they've done in the past, put into their resume, and assume that the recruiter is going to cherry pick what's important and give them the call. And finally, the formatting, because you know people are just want to put a lot of information. The formatting is all over the place. So you got to remember what you got to ask yourself every time you put something down in your resume. You got to ask yourself, is this going to convince the resume? Is this going to convince the recruiter to give me a call for the interview or not? Is this going to make a difference just for them to pick up the phone and give me a call? Right? That's all you got to ask yourself. So we're going to be covering in this webinar how you can make sure that you do that. And this is a resume template that we have. And as I'd mentioned, a recruiter, remember, takes 6 to 15 seconds to scan just the top 2/3 of the first page of the resume before they decide if they want to read the rest. You can see this is why it's important to make sure that the content that's in there is extremely relevant, because if it's irrelevant, in 15 seconds, they're not going to be able to read everything and they're going to toss the resume aside and move on to the next one. So relevance is really key over here. Now, some of you might have bought a resume already and invested in one of these, you know, fancy resumes. And here's the thing, right? Like these resumes have a place, okay? I don't have anything against these resumes, but you got to understand that these resumes that have got this fancy formatting that you may have invested online, you can bring them into the interview. You can use them in networking events. I've researched that hiring managers actually do tend to like these kind of formats. But if your process of applications is just to submit the resume on an online job application and let the software do its thing, this resume is not going to work. It's not going to read text. It's not going to read pictures. It's not going to read nested tables that may be in here. It's not going to read PDFs so very effectively. So you got to be careful. This resume format does not work if you're applying for the job online. You got to reserve this for the interview itself. So with that, are you guys ready to create a master resume? Give me a big yes in caps if you are. All right, because I want to make sure that you're really ready for this. Yes, there's a big yes from, yep. All right, there's a big yes from Harpreet. Yes, from a lot of people. All right, excellent. So let's get right into it. So step number 1, select one target job title. All right, and this is really crucial. Some of you may be thinking, and this is, I get this a lot. I want to be an project manager, but at the same time, I want to be an IT operations manager. That doesn't work. Okay, if you've got, especially if you're a newcomer to Canada, you've got a lot of risks. You don't have Canadian experience. You're new to the country. You've got, you got to align your resume. There's a lot of things working against you. If you want to try and change careers, that's going to work against you as well, right? So you want to stick to one target job title. That's important to know how to create the master resume. If you want to go after two target job titles, you're going to have to double your efforts. You're going to need two master resumes. You're going to need, split your time between applying for two types of jobs, double the size of your network, one for project management, one for operations as an example. It's a lot more efficient to select one target job title and go with that. That's really going to be my one recommendation. And before you create your master resume, you need to conduct this exercise. And you gotta understand that. I understand in some cultures, based on my research, it's good to be someone who knows everything. But during the job search phase in Canada, someone who's a jack of all trades and a master of none really doesn't do well. You can't have a resume that shows you do a whole bunch of jobs. It's not going to convert. The reader is going to see this person really doesn't have a strong focused career. I'm going to move on to the next one. So make sure you select that one target job title. And throughout this rest of this webinar, you're going to see how you can apply the content to that one target job title. So with that in mind, I'm just curious to see, type in the chat, what is the one target job title? I want to see what kind of experts we have at the webinar today. We've got a business development manager, IT project manager, assistant, a full stack developer, civil engineer. Wow, John, look at that. Like we've got, data scientist, system administrator. We've got people from all fields at this webinar. So that's really great. Electrical engineer, excellent.
Team developer. Yeah, no, we've got a giant list of people coming in. This is fantastic. Legal admin. We've got a financial analyst, product manager,
nice.
Scrum master, holistic wellness coach, HR
Public
consultant.
health officer. Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. So good. Looks like you guys have already got your one target job title in mind. So that's really good to hear. So once you've selected your target job title, here's what I wanted to do in step number 2. Collect 5 to 7 job descriptions. If you're really ambitious, make it 10. Okay. Go into Indeed, go to monster.ca, go to LinkedIn, whatever is your favorite job aggregation company, and collect all those job descriptions. Okay. Now, this is not the time where you say, no, I don't want to take that because, I don't like that job or I don't like the company. This is not the time where you do that. Okay. This is just for research purposes. You're now doing the effort of taking the research of what the Canadian market is looking for your target job. Please don't ever make the mistake of assuming that what you're doing in your current job or your previous job are the same responsibilities and roles and skills that your future Canadian manager is looking for. Every company has its own culture. It's got its own ways of doing things, and things could be different now than when it was when you started your previous job. So this is the research that you got to do. Take 5 to 7 job descriptions that matches the one target job title that you've selected. That's the rule, right? So if you are a project coordinator, make sure you select 5 to 10 job descriptions where the job title is project coordinator as well. Depending on your industry, you may want to select it from companies as well, from the same industry as well. So for example, project manager is one of my favorites. They're project managers for the construction industry. They're project managers for the technology or IT industry. They're project managers for telco industry. This is one of those examples where you also need to select job descriptions that's within that specific industry as well. So take note of that. So that's step number 2. Once you've taken your 5 to 7 to 10 job descriptions, now I want you to create a log. Okay, I want you to go through those job descriptions one by one and look at the responsibilities, the roles, and the skills for each of them. And take a log of it. Use Excel, use Word document, Notepad, handwrite it down, use tally marks, whatever you prefer. Okay, and start to look at each line in the job description on the first one. Once you're done with that, move on to the next one. If you're seeing that a skill or a responsibility is repeated, go back to your list and give it a score of 2. Then move on to the next one. If you're seeing that a role or a skill or responsibility is being repeated, give it a score of 3. If you're seeing a brand new one, make a new entry for that. Now, obviously, all job descriptions are not going to be written in the same way. Okay, and this is where your judgment comes in, right? So I recently did one for a client for a project coordinator role. okay? And through this exercise, documentation was one of the skills that was repeated across all 10 job descriptions. But obviously it was asked for in different ways. The first job description said that you need to be able to document and administer the project plan. The second one said management of the project plan and all supporting documents. And the third one said something else. So you're in the industry, you got to use your intuition and your experience to know, and judgment, to know whether the two job descriptions and specific responsibilities are actually meaning the same thing, and score it accordingly. So once you're done, what would that look like? It would look like something like this. And this is something that we call the brand tracker. This is one of the core foundational things that you got to do when you do our courses. Without this, it's very difficult to move forward, right, in your job search. And this is an example for a project manager. And as you can see, after doing this exercise, it is very clear to this person that defining project scope and business goals is something that needs to be right up there in their resume. And then you can see all the responsibilities and soft skills. Obviously, hard skills, I believe this was for an IT project manager. PMP certification was right on the top. Believe it or not, recently when I took on a client, this person had PMP scattered all over their resume, and right at the top, it was right there for the construction industry. And to his surprise, when we did this exercise, when we went through 10 job descriptions that he provided me, we realized that the PMP certification was not even asked for in one job description. They were asking for a whole bunch of other things. And he was really surprised. So you can see the value and the importance of going through this exercise, right? It's really critical that you do this. And once you do it, you have this document and you're able to confidently now know what content needs to go into your resume. And finally, step number 4, once you have that info, you obviously got to update your resume. Make sure that the roles and the responsibilities that you put in there and the skills is in the order that you've discovered them from your research. Now, are you seeing how you can get past the 6 to 15 seconds of the recruiter? Because you've taken the trouble to research all of this, you have confidence now knowing that you have a resume that's speaking to what exactly the Canadian market is looking for, and you're sorting it by the scores that you put in your brand tracker. People who have done this exercise have come away from it thinking, wow, I have absolute confidence right now that this is a rock solid resume. Finally, you must be thinking about keywords, okay? And this is really critical. And I know it's probably one of those things that you've heard a lot, and oh God, Connell, don't tell me about keywords again. But yes, keywords are important. So as some of you may know, applicant tracking systems are the piece of software that scan your resume before a recruiter sees it. Doesn't matter how good your skills are. It doesn't matter how good your resume is either in terms of content and those kind of things. If that piece of software is not going to parse and filter out your resume in so that the recruiter sees it, you're not going to get that call back. And this is why a lot of people struggle. This is why a lot of people complain that they don't get responses to their job applications, because they're not even getting past that machine that's filtering your resume out. So this is why keywords are really important to optimize. That machine is scanning your resume for keywords, right? It's not looking so much at the quality of the content. It's just looking at the keywords that's in there. So you have a tool called JobScan that was designed specifically for job seekers. And some of you may know this. Has any of you heard of JobScan? Type it in the chat if you have. It is a popular tool. And if you're a serious job seeker, you would have a JobScan. Yes. So Magdalene says yes. Jennifer says yes. All right. So we have a lot of people familiar with this. Now I'm going to tell you how to use JobScan to create your master resume. Okay. We went through those 5 to 10 job descriptions, and you've got your resume built now based on that. We're not done with those job descriptions just yet. Here's what I want you to do. Take your resume as it is right now and scan it to JobScan with the first job application. Reach a score of at least 55%. I know that the CEO and JobScan itself recommends that you score 80%. If you try to get 80%, you're just going to rip your hair out. It's really difficult. In my experience, I've seen that if you hit at least 55%, you're good. You're definitely better than anyone else applying for that same job. All right. So aim for at least 55%. on your first resume, and go ahead and pass and get a score of 55%. Once you're done, move on to the next role. Move on to the next job description that you have and scan it again with your new resume. Once again, try and get 55%. Adjust the keywords and try and get to 55%. There is only one rule. You can't remove words from your resume. You got to be very careful with that, because if you try and remove words, you may compromise on the previous scans that you have done, right? You may remove keywords and you may compromise the previous scan. So get it to match at least 55% on the next job description. Once you're done with that, move on to the third one and do it again. So in the end, you're going to end up, depending on how many you do, you got to do it at least 5 for at least 5 job descriptions. 7 is recommended. 10 if you're super ambitious, right? Do it for all 10. What you're going to end up with is a resume that not only meets the research that you had done, so it fits the content of those job descriptions. Now you've also got a resume that hits at least 55% on keywords across all 10 or all 7. Your final resume, folks, is that master resume. Congratulations. You now have a resume that's both speaking to what the Canadian job market wants and something that is completely optimized for keywords as well. And what you're going to find is that with this resume, every new job application that you do and you run it through JobScan, you're going to score at least 40 to 45%. So you're already there. And you just need a couple of more tweaks to get it up to 55%. In JobScan, usually if you hit one keyword, that usually bumps it up by 1%. So if you're around the 48% mark, you just need to bump about 5 to 7 keywords and you're good. Instead of taking now hours to customize your resume, you're just going to be able to do it in a couple of minutes. So I hope that was helpful. I mean, let me know your comments in the chat. What did you guys think? That was the complete run through of how you create a master resume. I want to know, was that really helpful and valuable to you guys? Is this something that you guys have done before? It was transformational, says Adikoto. Thanks a lot. Urmil says, yes, extremely valuable. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. So, I was so glad to give this. As I said before, this was never content that we've never shared before. And I was really excited to help you guys get this master resume. So I know what you're thinking, that, wow, Connell, this is a lot of work. 10 resumes, are you out of your mind? How long is this going to take? Look, there is work involved. There's no doubt about it. And every time I think about this is one of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein, who said that if I had 1 hour to save the world, I'd spend 55 minutes defining the problem. This exercise is about defining the problem. Every job exists in an organization to solve a problem. Whether you're the CEO of the company or whether you're a junior analyst at the company, everybody has a job to solve a problem. If there was no problem, the job wouldn't exist, right? That's just it. And what you're doing here with all this work and this research, you're defining the problem that your role is solving. That's essentially what you're doing. And is there work? Yes, there is work upfront involved. This takes at least a couple of hours or a weekend if you have to get all this through. But once you're done, the rewards that you're going to reap is going to be amazing. I asked you the question, if I give you $10,000 right now to do this, would you do it? I'm assuming yes. If I give you $10,000 to do this, would you do it? Answer yes in the chat if you would. I'm pretty sure you would say yes, of course. So a resume like this could mean the difference between getting a job that pays you $40,000 a year versus $50,000 or $60,000 or even $70,000 a year. So it is definitely worth it. Okay, take the effort. I strongly encourage you to go through this and get it done. And those who have, as you can see, amazing success stories. Bassem is one of my favorite students. He took our courses to the next level, and look at his results. He got a job, not just any job. He got a job as an architectural engineer, okay, which is a regulated field, and he got it 30 days before landing in Canada. Like, how amazing is that? You have Vanessa and Alexander over here. They're actually a couple. They're husband and wife, and they're both students of us. And look at what they had accomplished. They came down actually from Brazil to Canada, and they've got their dream jobs right now. So those who are taking the trouble and the effort are really, reaping the rewards, as you can see. So with that, I want to remind you guys why you are here. Okay, you are here because you're frustrated and confused You're not getting responses from your applications. Customizing your resume takes too long. And more importantly, you want the job that's right for you in Canada. A lot of you had, things that you had mentioned on the chat about reasons that why you're here. Did you get the value that you were looking for? Is really what I want to know. James says, yep, it's a no-brainer. Cigar says, yes. Thanks a lot, guys. This is really helpful and really keeps us going. Okay. Now that you have the value that you got, you must be thinking to yourself, well, now that I know what I've got to do, okay, so you know that you've got to do the research to find out what the Canadian market wants. You know you've got to create a keyword that is resume optimized with JobScan. Now you must be thinking, okay, now how do I put that content together? How do I create a resume that actually converts to interviews? Sure, it's going to get in front of the recruiter now, thanks to JobScan and the research that we do. Now, how do I create content that actually convince the recruiter or the hiring manager to pick up the phone and call me? And that's where you got two choices to make. Okay, so option number one, you can try and do it yourself. And there's no doubt you will get far. Okay, you would get your resume in front of the recruiter, but if it's not formatted correctly, if the content doesn't speak to your experiences and skills the way it should, you're eventually probably going to get a job, but you're going to be spending a whole lot of time applying for job after job online, and you're going to feel frustrated and confused as well at the same time. So choice number one is you could take longer and eventually get a job. Or option number two is that you can do it with a professional. There's a reason why resume experts exist, right? And you can do it with a pro. You can get a job that is not only faster, you can get into the job that's faster, but more importantly, you get a job that's right for you. And I'm assuming that most of you would prefer option number two. Like, which of these two options do you prefer? Let me know in the chat, right? Do you prefer to get a job that is going to take you longer to do with repeated mistakes online, or do you prefer to get a job that is faster at the right company with the right manager? And a lot of you are saying option number two. Well, that's great. So with that, we wanted to introduce to you Module 1, Create Your Brand. This is a course that I've designed that has taken all of the experience that I've done as a newcomer to Canada, all of the research that I've done as into the North American job market, and we've put it over here as an online course. This is the stuff that nobody out there is teaching you guys. This is what I'd mentioned earlier on. And in the end, you're going to get a resume that gets you more interviews. And this course also comes with a LinkedIn profile. As some of you may know, if you've been following me, 87% of recruiters look at your LinkedIn profile immediately after your resume. Okay, so this course covers beautifully your LinkedIn profile as well. In fact, the most common feedback that I get is that a lot of people say there's nothing as comprehensive out there, Connell, as what you've covered for your LinkedIn profile, as well as with your resume. And most importantly, this course is designed to get you the job that's right for you. That's always been the core belief of our academy. It's not enough to just get any old job, get the job that's right for you. And here's what you're going to find in the course. What you see on the left is all the different sections and the number of lectures in each of them. It's 5 hours of solid content. Most importantly, it's step by step. Just as you've seen in this short webinar that we had today, it's a step-by-step demo of your resume and your LinkedIn profile. It's got a ton of downloadable contents in there with resume templates, LinkedIn templates, worksheets that you can use. And the most important thing that we have in there is our screen shares. I don't believe in just sending you guys a whole bunch of text to learn. It's all about show and tell. It's all about showing you guys the way to do it. And for a lot of the lectures, I'm actually sharing my screen on my Mac and showing you how it's done. Now, earlier I had mentioned that there's a special bonus, and I want to give you a big thanks to everyone who's stayed on. I'm seeing that no one has actually left the webinar just yet. And for you guys who have stayed on, as a fast action bonus for this webinar, as long as we're online, we're giving away a complimentary 30-minute resume coaching session with the purchase of Module 1. That's right. So by default, when you purchase Module 1, you get the course, you're going to get some solid, valuable content, but you don't get coaching sessions that come with it. For you guys, since you've been here, we're going to throw in a complimentary 30-minute resume coaching session. That's right, so that you're not on your own. Even though we're confident that the course is going to get you really far, you're going to get that added peace of mind that I'm going to look at your resume personally and tweak it as I see fit. And you're going to be even that more confident to make sure that you're going to get the job that's right for you. So it's me partnering with you guys, and we're going to team up and make sure that you have a resume and LinkedIn profile that's really going to sell yourself to the employers that you want to target. So by default, module 1 is $199. The coaching session, which is complimentary, is also $199. So that's $398 of value that you're getting. But if you purchase it now, while we're online in this webinar, you get the coaching session for free, which means that it's just going to be an investment of $199. So you can go to CanadianJobSearchAcademy.com/brand, and you can check out what you're going to, and you can buy the course from there right now. Remember, you're going to get the complimentary coaching session when you do it while we are online right now. So if you're thinking, well, what if this doesn't work for me? Your investment is 100% money back guarantee for 30 days. And there's no questions asked. If for any reason you're not getting more job interviews within 30 days, just send us a quick email and you're going to get your money back, no questions asked. All right. So we're this confident that your resume that you're going to create after this and your LinkedIn profile is going to convert for you guys. So here's what you're going to do next. Okay. This is the steps that you got to follow. Step 1, go to CanadianJobSearchAcademy.com/brand. And I can see John Ribeiro has put it in the chat as well over there. So you can click on that link if you don't want to type it out. And you're going to scroll down and you're going to see the little green box over there that says buy now. On the next screen, you fill out the form. You click on proceed to checkout and you fill out the form. It's safely processed through our merchant called Stripe, or you could use PayPal, whatever you're comfortable with. And then step 3, within 24 hours, you're going to get an email confirmation from our support team with access to your courses and your login information. And then once you log in, you're going to start up your course. And you can download an app that will help you even do these courses on your mobile phone as well. And that is the steps that you got to follow to get access to this course. So before we wrap up, there's this favorite quote of mine from Estee Lauder: "I never dreamed about success. I've always worked for it." Whenever I speak to someone and I tell them, I came to Canada as a newcomer, I got 3 job offers in like 3 weeks, people say, well, you know what, you got lucky. And my eyes just roll, because I hate it when people tell me that. Okay, I didn't do a research for an entire year to get lucky. I did the work, right? I did the work. I researched how is the right way to create resumes and LinkedIn profiles and how to network and how to apply for jobs online. And I did the work and I got the success. And that's what I want for you guys. All right. This isn't going to be, there is work involved. There's no doubt about it. When you do the courses, you will see that there are exercises to follow. But what I can guarantee you is this, not just within the 30 days. If you do the work, you are going to get success. And it's the kind of success that many newcomers to Canada, especially my students, have gotten. So with that, the timer has started for the Q&A, and I'm so really excited to get through the questions that you've had during the webinar, and I think John's been looking at them as well. But the fast action bonus, as I had mentioned, is available only while we're online at this webinar. Okay, so John, are you still there? Do we have some great questions coming in?
Yes, Connell, we do.
Nice.
I'm thrilled. Yeah, no, the questions are coming in. So make sure you bring the questions into the chat. We'll make sure that we try to get through them, or try to get through as many as we can, because I know there's going to be a slew of different questions that are coming in. First one of the questions is, how long does it take to get through the content? Connell?
Yeah, so there is about 5 hours of content in module 1. Okay, so that's how long it will actually take you to go through it. Now, for our past students who have actually done the exercises as well, that would take, again, I would say a couple of days to do it. Some have done it, depends on how much time you dedicate to it, right? Some of my students are one of those, they're go-getters. They'll spend an entire weekend just to get through the course because, they're on a tight timeline and they've completed the entire thing on a weekend. Some who have said, okay, we're going to take a couple of minutes a day, a couple of hours a day. It's been a week or 2 weeks. But if you really want to get through it, you could be anywhere between a weekend to a week to get through the course, and more importantly, apply what's being taught in the course to your resume and your LinkedIn profile.
So that's fantastic. So I just want to follow up. There's another question that came in, and it's really around, is this still applicable if you're still outside the country? So if you're outside the country, it's actually ideal to take this course, because if you're outside the country, you'd want to be prepared before you land. And I just wanted to make this point very clear.
you have to have your PR or your ITA in Canada first. Okay, this is what I really recommend, or a work permit. It is very unlikely that you can apply for a job online, and you will eventually get the call. There's no doubt about it. You will get the call for the job interview. But the moment the interviewer asks you, are you legally allowed to work in Canada? If you don't have a PR, or you're not a citizen, or you don't have a work permit, the answer to that question is no. And then they're not going to move the interview forward. So if you're out of the country, I would strongly recommend that you do apply for your permanent residency. And if you have, then the answer to that question is yes, I'm out of the country right now, but I'm going to be in Canada in so-and-so date. And then you've got a really strong chance. And this is how Bassem did it. Bassem had his PR, he knew his landing date, and he started applying for jobs, and he got it 30 days before landing.
Hey, sorry, there's a question. As you're speaking about this particular point, question around a PR. Can you just expand on what a PR is? Because I know we use the acronym quite a bit. For everybody else that's listening to the call that may not know what this is, could you let them know what that is, Connell?
Yeah, so PR is permanent residency. So when you apply for immigration to Canada on the online express entry system, you can go to YouTube and type Canada Express Entry, and you can see videos on how to do that. You formally apply for Canadian Canadian immigration. There's a whole bunch of programs. Again, we're not immigration consultants, so we can't go into the details, but PR is the permanent residency. It's the residency status that you get to live in Canada as a resident, job or no job.
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Connell. Another question coming in: how long do I get access to the course for? Is one that's coming up and showing up a few times in the chat.
You have lifetime access. So this is why it's important, right? Like you have lifetime access to the course. When you buy the course today, you will never have to pay for the course again, and you always have access to it. One thing that is going to change is that we're going to keep upgrading the content. We continuously do the research. We always find new ways of improving the content. In fact, the resume template that you see today has actually been updated just 2 weeks ago, when I follow other job search experts as well. And if I see something that makes sense to my students, yeah, I'm going to bring that over to my course as well. So that's actually a new template that you saw. So yes, you will have lifetime access to the course. And this is why, I tell a lot of people, if you've applied for immigration and you stand a good chance of getting there, or you have your PR and you're a couple of months away, get the course today, because we can't promise that you're going to get it with all the benefits and bonuses that we have today, right? So as you can see today, you're going to get a coaching session with me while you're here. So while we're on this webinar, so you have lifetime access to it.
Excellent. Thank you, Connell. There's a question around the guarantee. If I plan to move to Canada later, will my 30-day guarantee be applicable when I apply for jobs later?
No, the 30-day guarantee is from the day that you buy the course. So this is what I'd recommend. It's like I'd mentioned earlier, when you do the course, and if you're going to apply for jobs later down the line, the most important thing for you is to have peace of mind that your resume and your LinkedIn profile will actually get you job interviews when you're actually ready to apply. So here's what I'd recommend. When you buy the course, start applying for jobs once you're done there. And if you start getting callbacks for interviews, that's how you know it's working, right? So when you're actually ready to move to Canada, you already have a rocking resume that and you're confident that it's going to make a difference.
Excellent. So there is a question, and actually, Connell, I'd like to answer this one because I had this recently on a coaching call this week with one of our clients around the current situation with COVID and where we are due to COVID. I know travel's been limited from other countries to Canada. So the question is, should I still be applying to roles in Canada, even though I don't necessarily have a landing date? So one of the recommendations I made with one of my clients this week, because they had exactly the same question, and it was in and around, I might be landing in June, I might be landing in July. It all depends on when flights start to open up. So the recommendation was, we had worked together a few times, and they were starting to get calls from recruiters around positions. And unfortunately, because they weren't here, they weren't being offered the role. But the one thing that they were able to do in the process of that, and I want to make sure that I get this out to everybody that's listening to this call, is you can still build those relationships. So if you are filling out your resume and you're sending it out and you're getting responses, you're building out a network. So what we are advising our clients to do is, if you are still stuck outside of Canada due to travel restrictions, the one thing that we're recommending is to maintain those relationships with the people that are calling you for those interviews. Because at some point, they're still going to need a resource to fill those roles. And even though you're not necessarily the person that can fill it right away, you are now in their database, and you can build and maintain a relationship with that organization and that recruiter while you're waiting to come to Canada. And what we do know from the research that we've done around networking is you will now have access to that person's network as well, because now they will, because you've been following up with them and staying connected with them, you are actually you're building a relationship. And that's one of the things that's key to the Canadian work culture. Is relationships are incredibly important, and the network that you have is going to add a lot of value. So, if you're thinking about, hey, I'm not going to be there for another 2 or 3 months, does it still work? Ideally, yes. Recruiter organizations in Canada do take a lot of time to recruit people. It can take anywhere from 8 weeks to 12 weeks or even 16 weeks, depending on what's happening. So I just wanted to answer that question as one that's been relevant, and a question that's been asked many, many times this week throughout my coaching sessions with individuals. So
there's a good question from Jawahar as well. Can I buy the course now and update my resume while I choose to take the coaching later? Absolutely, Jawahar. So you could buy the course now, and the coaching session is there for you whenever you feel you're ready for it. So how it works is, when you actually buy the course, and when you go to our training system, you will see that you have access to the course, and right under that, you will see that you have the complimentary 30-minute coaching session as well. So it's attached to your profile. So it's always going to permanently be there until you use it. So you could buy the course now and take the coaching later on. Absolutely. Okay. Do we have other questions coming in, John?
Actually, I just there's a couple of people I'd like to give a shout out that have already purchased the program. Big shout out to Jennifer. Thank you for that. And Ananda, I think I'm saying Ananda correctly. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. But congratulations on joining the Academy. We got some other questions in here as well. The Atlantic pilot program also needs a job offer before processing PR. How do we go about that? Yeah.
So again, this is an immigration related question, so I wouldn't be the best person to answer it. But again, I've heard of the Atlantic immigration pilot program, and I've not personally, John, I've not heard of anyone who has actually gotten job offers. It's personally an issue that I have with the immigration system. It's kind of it's a disconnect, right? The government is creating programs out there that promote that you need a job offer before coming here, but really there are companies that should be the ones that should be offering you the job. So once again, if you find companies out there, our course is the best and most guaranteed way of you finding and trying your luck if a company actually would call you for an interview. So like I said, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. If you're not getting calls for interviews, most likely your resume is not getting through to the system. So I would really recommend to Google and try and find out which companies are participating in the pilot program. And then once you have that list, then you can start targeting and applying for those jobs using the resume that you'll create from Module 1. And you've got 30 days to check it out to see if it works. And if it works well, then you certainly have increased your chances of trying to get through the pilot program through getting a job that way.
Excellent. Connell, I've got another question. Do we get a resume template?
Yes, you do, of course. That's you get a resume template, and it's all downloadable in the course as well. As I'd mentioned in one of the earlier slides, there's downloadable content, worksheets, sharing my screen. So the templates are all in there. I really hope you like the template that we had shown earlier, because it was, I think, a great upgrade to what we had from before.
Excellent. Thank you, Connell. What is the best criteria to select the target job title?
So it depends on your situation. Now, if you're a newcomer to Canada, most likely you do have experience. I would strongly suggest your first job in Canada be based on the experience that you already have. Okay. And the reason I say this is because it's challenging as it is for a newcomer candidate to find the first job. You don't want to add the risk of, choosing a different job title from the one that you have an experience in. Generally speaking, in Canadian culture, it's they prefer looking at candidates that have the same experience. If you're looking to change roles and choose a different target job title from the one you have experience with, that means you got to boost your networking up to a whole new level. Okay, so yeah, if you want to change roles, it can be a resume that's doing most of the talking. You really have to boost your networking skills as well. And that's why we have module 2 in our academy as well. So that really takes your networking to a whole new level. Now, if you're a fresh grad and you're looking for your first job, really, I would say go with the experience that you've got from your internships that you've done, with your co-ops that you've been doing, and really what you've majored in as well. And that's what I'd recommend would be your target job title. Speak to a career coach, speak to career services. If you don't have any experience at all, what should the first role that you want be? It should ideally be aligned with your experience as a co-op or an intern.
Hey, Connell, I just sent you a few names. If you want to just do a couple of shout outs while I pull up the next question.
Sure. You got some names here.
Yes.
Bayur, Tanya, Vivek, Adana, and Nisha.
Yes, welcome to the Canadian Job Search Academy. We're excited to have you guys here to join us and to be part of your job search journey, because I know it can be frustrating, it can be daunting, but having the right tools is going to make a huge difference. So there's a question around: is it feasible to get interviewed holistic health coach in Canada?
I'm sorry, what is that again?
Is it feasible to get interviewed as a holistic health coach in Canada? I know we've got different industries joining us today, so I'll pull up some other ones. But while you're answering that question, Connell?
Sure, yeah. Holistic health coach. Well, again, it's a very specific question in terms of, I would say that it's a question related around, you're trying to figure out if something that the job that you're after is actually feasible in Canada. The best way to do that is, once again, going to indeed.ca. So I get this question a lot. People ask me the question, here's my target job title. How confident are you, or how is this kind of job doing in Canada? The best way to do that is to go to indeed.ca and type out the target job title you have and see what comes up. If you're seeing that job title there, if you're seeing a demand for it, what I personally like about indeed.ca is that it also shows you which provinces are having that target job title. So you'd also want to do that kind of research to know which province that you'd best want to practice that specific job in. So yeah, once again, once you know that that target job title is locked in and there is a demand for it, using indeed.ca and searching for it, the next step would obviously be to research what are the roles and responsibilities for that target job title. And that's where our course goes into detail in showing you how to do that. We've covered just the basics over here at this webinar, but the real in-depth stuff where I share my screen and show you how to put all the content together in your brand tracker comes from our courses for sure.
Excellent. Thank you, Connell. There's another question. Our coaching session, do we have coaching sessions on interviewing? One may have the best resume, but fails at the interview.
Absolutely. John, you're big on that. So why don't you answer that? We have module 3, right?
Yeah. That's part of our module 3, but we do have individual coaching sessions that we do. We do, one of the things that we do with our clients is, with our VIP clients is interview preparation session. So what we actually do is we run a live face-to-face online chat, and what we do is we simulate an interview for you. So we would go through some of the top 10 questions, behavioral type questions that you would be asked in an interview. And one of the things that we try, and one of the things that we're pretty successful at, is preparing you well enough that you walk in with confidence. Because I know that's one of the challenges that a lot of people they face as they go through the interview process. And it can be, like I said, it can be daunting, but making sure that you have the preparation, you do the walkthrough. I've seen, and I'm not saying this to highlight, how awesome we are, but It's really around when you're prepared and you know what to do once you're in the room with the hiring manager is going to make a world of difference. And that confidence level that comes through can be the deal breaker that, helps a hiring manager determine whether or not you're going to be the right person, not only for the organization, but for the team that they're looking for. Connell talked about this already around the problem. What we're going to make sure that we do throughout the prep session is making sure that you answer the problem to the role, the problem that the role is trying to resolve, by making sure that you bring the best of your qualities to highlight how you are the solution to that problem. So yes, so there you go, Connell.
Yeah, and the link isn't here, but yes, I mean, CanadianJobSearchAcademy.com, our VIP course is the one that comes defaulted with those one-on-one coaching sessions that you're talking about. So obviously, for this webinar, if you take advantage of module 1 right now, you get a coaching session where we review your resume. But if you purchase our VIP program, that comes default with 4 coaching sessions, and that's why it's the VIP program. Right, so that's something that you could consider as well. And John is our confidence coach. He's our interview coach. He's our public speaking coach. He's NLP coach. He's got all those qualities that make him the best person for coaching you for the job interview.
Thank you, Connell. I appreciate that. Okay, there's a couple of, I know we're getting near the bottom of the hour, and there's a few more questions, so I want to try to get through these as quickly as we can.
Yeah, John, and just what I want to let people know, I know the timer is out right now, but as I promised, don't look at the timer. As long as we are here on this webinar and we've not logged off, because we know people are still on, there are a whole bunch of questions as well. We'll stay on for a couple of more minutes. The fast action bonus still applies while we are here on live on this webinar.
Excellent. So another question that just came in, has the entire interview process in Canada changed due to COVID?
100%. I don't think it's just specific for Canada. I think just everywhere else. All my students who have been getting interviews during COVID have been telling me about how everything is online, it's on Zoom. So yeah, I think this is the way that the process has changed. What I can tell you is that, it's not changed from a job application perspective. That still remains the same. But when you get a call for the interview, it's all through Zoom, Teams, Skype, all the systems that you can imagine, these online systems where you have to do an interview. So that's the only way that it's changed. People are still hiring though. Obviously, airline and certain industries are impacted, like airline and tourism, the entertainment business, they're impacted for sure. But there are a lot of companies that are still hiring. Telco is still hiring. Utilities are still hiring. Logistics are still hiring. So people are still hiring, and getting a foot through the door through our module 1 and creating your brand with a rock solid resume will get you those interviews that you want.
Excellent. Actually, there is another question, and this one is specific to the resume. Okay. As a newcomer, does it matter if employers know if you have a great ITIL scores, the ITIL scores? Is it something that you include in your resume?
So good question, and I definitely want everyone to hear this. If you're a permanent resident to Canada and you've got your papers in, you're applying for a job in Canada, you are Canadian. Pretend that you're Canadian and you've been Canadian your whole life. So the moment you put things in your resume that indicate that you're not Canadian, that works against you. Okay, you got to remember one thing. Hiring managers and employers, they don't know anything about the immigration system at all. They don't even know what a PR is. Okay, they don't even know, and they don't care, right? The only question, they're not even allowed to ask you, are you a permanent resident or are you a citizen in Canada? All they're allowed to ask you is, are you legally allowed to work in Canada? That's it. Anything beyond that is a violation of hiring laws and regulations in Canada. So as long as you're PR, as long as you're a citizen or your work permit holder, the answer to the question is yes, that's it. They're done. They can't ask you anything else. So when it comes to the content of your resume, don't put anything in there that indicates that you're an immigrant, because that would unnecessarily work against you. So forget about IELTS, forget about putting anything in there that says, residency status, Canadian permanent resident. Forget about saying that your education is WES compliant or whatever. None of that matters. So that's, I think, would be, I think Diksha asked us this question, right? So that would be my strongest suggestion. Don't put all of this content in your resume. So And this is why our module is so important, because people make the same mistakes over and over again. But once they're through with the course, one section of the course, which is just as important as everything else, is it tells you what are the mistakes that you need to avoid and what are the things that you need to take out of your resume, which is just as important as what goes in there.
All right, excellent. I guess we'll take Connell. Are we good to stay on for a few more minutes and answer some of these questions?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So thank you. So there was a question, and it was around the skills section of a resume.
Right.
So within our template, we list out the skills, but the skills miss their respective brief content. Is it better to have context along with some of the skills that you're mentioning in your resume?
So I know the reason this is being asked, because this is one of the ways in which our template has changed. In our old template, we had some context in there. But what I discovered was that by removing the contents and just sticking to the keywords itself, it gets you to rank higher. Okay, because you have an opportunity to get the skills in there. And based on the research that I've done and recruiters that I've spoken to, they said the context is great, but you could be compromising on, ranking higher in the system as well. So we found that it was a lot better to list the skills out there. And once a recruiter scans those skills, they're happy to give you a call for the interview. This goes back to saying that all you got to do is make sure you get the call for the interview. And what recruiters have told us recently was that as long as you got the skills, and the more skills that apply that match the job description, the better. So that's why, yes, you could limit the context to the skill. So the one thing you could add, for example, is if it's a technical skill, let's say Excel or something, or even if it's a role like a full stack developer, the skill section is going to be a lot, right? So you'd want to say, if you just put Python over there, for example, as a skill that you have, but you don't know Python that well, you might be flagged at the interview itself if you're doing like a whiteboard test or something. So you might want to add in there to say intermediate Python skills or advanced Excel skills, right? So that's a little bit of context that you could have.
Excellent, excellent. And I believe I'm just going back and forth between the Q&A and the chat, and I believe there's been a few more questions that have come through on the chat.
Okay.
So the process has changed. Give me a second.
Sure. These are great questions that are coming in, so I really appreciate it, John. Sounds like you're really scrolling through the list, and
I am. So there's a question around, how about your diplomas? So somebody has a civil engineering technologist, and it fits into several job titles like junior inspector, land surveyor, and etc. What's the best approach?
The best approach is to select the one target job title that you want to go for. Right? Don't look at your diploma and see which job titles it matches. Do the opposite thing. Select your target job title first that speaks to the experience that you're most comfortable with speaking at the job interview. And once you've selected your target job title, then see if your diploma matches. You got to remember one thing, that the Canadian work culture, Canadian culture as a general, in general doesn't look at education as highly as other parts of the world like Asia. There's a North America in general, there's a whole movement where people are starting to understand that education, they're starting to devalue education, and job search experts in North America say your education just has a shelf life of 5 years. Beyond that, hiring managers in Canada are looking at your experience more than your education. Your education is just there as a checkbox. If the job description is just asking for bachelor's degree in engineering, and your resume says bachelor's degree in engineering, you know what the recruiter says? Okay, done. Call him for the interview. Right? That's all it is. So don't spend too much time on your education. The only exception, of course, is if you're a new graduate, and you're applying for intern roles or co-ops and things like that, then it's a different story, right? Then your education does matter because that's the experience that you've got. But other than that, if you're a newcomer to Canada, you most likely have at least 5 to 10 years of experience. Go with your experience. That's your focus.
Excellent, excellent. So there is a question around, somebody's asking about the bonuses not showing up in the cart. Connell?
Okay, so the bonuses won't show up in the cart. Once you purchase it, the bonuses show up in the login access that you get after you're done with your purchase. So remember in the stuff that he said, once you purchase the course, within 24 hours, our support team will send you contact credentials and the website that you go to access the actual course itself. It's courses.zerotohire.com. In there is where you will see the bonus applied.
Excellent, excellent. And yeah, I think we're good. Okay, good. I think we've answered all the key questions. Okay. Maybe we'll do just one more. Hold on, one more.
And while you're doing that, I'm always happy to answer questions. Like I said, I'm motivated to see, Canadians, especially newcomers to Canada, new grads, whoever you are, to get you guys on the right path, because I want to see what gives me joy is seeing you guys, getting the job that suits you. So if we've not answered any questions, you have my LinkedIn account over there. By all means, hop onto LinkedIn, send me a message. I'm happy to answer all of them.
All right, so this will be our final question, because I know we are way over time, but the questions are rich, and I want to make sure that people walk out with as much value as possible. So the question is, if there is one if one is an IT project manager, can the same resume be used for other project roles? So outside of IT, project manager roles, say it's a software development manager role, would you recommend using the same resume?
No. I wouldn't. As we had covered on this webinar, the 10 job descriptions that the whole purpose of looking at, those 10 job descriptions, one of the rules was it's got to be the same job title. Specifically for project manager, you got to be careful of the industry as well. And the reason is because if you look at 10 job descriptions for an IT project manager, and you look at 10 job descriptions for a software developer, you are going to find differences in there, in my experience. So you could have, and I know this question is still within the industry of IT, but this is one of those things where IT is such a vast industry and project management is such a vast role itself. This is one of those things where it gets really specific. So even within IT project management, you've got those who specialize in IT infra projects and those who specialize in software development projects, which is why, you might find skills that are required for the software development side of things would be, you need to have, experience in agile development. You need to know about the SDLC, life cycle. You probably need to have coding skills as well, because you need to speak with developers. You need to speak the same language as them. Whereas on the infra side, it's something else altogether, right? So once again, once you do module 1, all of this hits home, right? It tells you exactly what you need to do, what areas you need to research on, and how to pick up those skills that's being asked for and translated into your resume.
All right, excellent. I think that's where we're going to leave it. We've got a couple of thank yous coming in. Awesome. One final question for everybody. If you felt like you've got some good value from our presentation today, just drop in a yes. We'd love to hear from you. What we will be doing, and I guess this is just to prepare people for other upcoming resumes. There's been a couple of questions around will you be hosting a webinar on interview preparation on LinkedIn? The answer to that question is yes. We will have to schedule it in, because like I said, we want to make sure that you walk away with some great value. We are here to help and really assist you as you go through your job search. So Connell, do you have any final thoughts for the people that have, look at this. Look at all these thank you coming in.
Yeah,
thank
I know,
you.
it's great. I was just about to say, yeah. And hey, we got Jawahar who's purchased module 1 with the bonus. Jawahar, thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you for sure.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Any final thoughts, Connell?
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. And if you guys put it into the chat, like what webinars you want us to cover. We'd love to hear it. Interview preparation is one. We love your feedback, and we really want to thank you guys for attending. A lot of you are still here. It's amazing, and love to work with you guys in the future as well. Thank you very much, John, and thanks everyone.
All right. Thank you, Connell. And everybody have an amazing remainder of the day, whether it's morning, afternoon, or late evening. Thank you for participating and being a part of this webinar, but also being a part of this community. And we're honored that you took the time out to spend it with us. It's always a great honor to meet, all these amazing people. So wishing everybody a fantastic day, and we will talk to you, I guess, in the future.
All right.
Take care, everybody.